Good day everyone, I am Vanya Kapangpangan and for today's lesson we will going to discuss about the chapter 6, students with learning disabilities with the three topic. First, we have the vignette about the teenager with learning disabilities. Second, the basic concept on learning mental ability and learning disabilities. And the third, measures of mental ability. But before that, allow me to read first the learning objectives. At the end of the chapter, the student should be able to first recall the concepts in the learning process and the different stages that a student undergoes when efficient teaching and effective learning takes place. Second, explain the concept on mental ability and the measurement of intellectual functioning. Third, define the term learning disabilities, explain the criteria in the determining the presence of learning disabilities. Fourth, define attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, explain the syndromes in the areas of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. 5. Explain the causes or etiology of learning disabilities. 6. Discuss the assessment procedures in identifying students with learning disabilities. 7. Enumerate and describe the special education programs for students with learning disabilities. And lastly, 8. Manifest patience and understanding in teaching children with learning disabilities. So now let's proceed to our first topic, the vignette about a teenager with learning disabilities. So I have here an example scenario. Peter is a typical, healthy, good-looking, middle-class 14-year-old boy who studies in a private school. Unlike his classmates in kindergarten 8 years ago, Peter is still in third grade. According to the result of the mental ability test, his IQ score is within the average range, but he failed the subject tenthly. He did most poorly in language, reading, and mathematics. The teacher complained about his inability to pay attention and concentrate in the lesson. He also tended to disrupt the class with his impulsive and hyperactive behavior, which got him into fights with his classmates and problems with the teacher and school administrators. Peter had spent last 5 years in 5 different schools. All throughout, physical diagnostics examination showed that Peter has deficit hyperactivity disorder or the ADHD. So now let's talk about ADHD. So what is ADHD? Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or the ADHD, is a brain disorder that affects how you pay attention, sit still, and control your behavior. It happens in children and teens and can continue into adulthood. ADHD is the most commonly diagnosed mental disorder in children. Boys are more likely to have it than girls. It usually spotted during the early school years when a child begins to have problems paying attention. ADHD can be prevented or cured by spotting it early, plus having a good treatment and education can help a child or adult with ADHD manage their symptoms. So itong ADHD ay kadalasang dumadapo ito sa mga lalaki kaysa sa mga babae. So now let's proceed to our second topic entitled The Basic Concept on Learning Mental Ability and Learning Disabilities. So we have here the process of learning. There are two main concepts in the term learning disabilities. The first concept describes the learning process, and the second explains the phenomenon about children who have average or even above average ability to learn, but who experience difficulties in learning. So first, let us define what is learning. So learning is the process by which experience and practice result in a stable change in the learner's behavior. The permanent change in behavior is not the result of maturation or growing up through the years because of increase in chronological age. Rather, learning results from efficient teaching that develops the learner's genetic capacity to learn to the maximum in an environment that is conducive to an effective teaching learning process. Thus, the learners manifest an understanding of content knowledge and demonstrates the ability to perform skills. Learning can be inferred to have taken place when the student's performance and behavior indicate the achievement of the long-term goals set for the school year and the quarterly short-term objective. The student's cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills and competencies are enhanced as indicated by knowledge gained and performance of the activities in the instructional plans that are taught each day. So I have here the three stages of learning. The first we have knowing, the second one is using, and the third one is inventing. So let's talk about first the knowing. The first stage is the knowing stage of learning, so we have here the acquisition and the reversion. The initial objective teaching is for the students to acquire knowledge and skills accurately and meaningfully. Acquisition of knowledge and skills takes place when the instructional goals and objectives, skills and competencies, strategies and materials match the learning ability of the student. The teacher's ability to motivate the learner, his or her delivery of accurate content through explicit and effective methods, questioning techniques, and evaluation strategies all contribute to the acquisition of knowledge and skills in the learning areas. When the conditions for effective teaching and learning are present, the students can learn content and acquire skills from zero to basic mastery of content and skills with about 85% accuracy. The use of relevant instructional systems and practical experiences further increases the chances of achieving the expected percentage of accuracy in executing the task learned. In reversion, the content and skills learned earlier are further strengthened to increase accuracy and mastery. Correct practice, drill, review, and similar strategies are used with immediate feedback and enforcement. Through continuous efficient and effective instruction, relevant practice, coaching, and feedback, the students is good really help to perform the skills with at least 85% accuracy during the knowing stage of learning. Next is proficiency and automaticity, are determined by the strength of prior learning. So when mastery of a skills or concept is attained, the learner moves on to the sub-stages of proficiency and automaticity. The students move beyond the conscious recall of content knowledge that's mastered or the performance of the skills. The goal is to attain fluency so that the skills are automatically applied to appropriate situation in everyday life. The learner executes the task immediately and successfully without the need to recall the procedures. The second one is the using stage of learning. Maintenance. When a student continues to use the skills thus acquired with proficiency and automaticity over time without explicit instruction, coaching, prompt, or reinforcement, the maintenance is achieved. Class activities are organized to allow the students to continue to experience meaningful practice of the skills in practical context. Application of the skills at home and in other environments outside of the school is set up. Appropriate feedback and reinforcement are given to strengthen the maintenance of the skills. The learning of the new skill is built on the skills that are maintained. If the learned skills are not used, they will can even if they will learned early with proficiency. Generalization. Once a skill is learned proficiently, it should be available for use in any appropriate situation. The goals of generalizations are for the learners to recognize and use stimulus as a prompt to apply the learned skills and to use the acquired skills in various situations, behaviors, settings, and time. The ability to apply generalization is the major indicator of the learning. The third one is the inventing stage of learning. Adaptation. In the last stage of learning, the student recognizes the needs to apply learned skills in situations outside the schools. He or she introduces changes or modifications in the skills and applies them to meet the new situation without the help or prompts. Although the basic skills have been learned earlier, the student is able to think how they can be used to achieve a current objective in a new situation with or without assistance or coaching and prompts. So that's all for the basic concept on learning, mental ability, and learning disabilities. So now let's proceed to our third topic, the measures of mental ability. So another significant concept to understand in teaching children with learning disabilities is the level of the learner's intellectual functioning or mental ability. So here are some concepts of mental ability. So first, we have here the concept 1, the standardized test of mental ability measures, intellectual functioning. Next is the concept 2, IQ scores seem to be distributed throughout the population according to the normal curve. The concept 3, intelligence testing is not an exact science. And the last, the concept 4, there are children whose IQ scores fall within the average as well as the above average areas of the normal curve who experience learning difficulties. So that's all, and the next topic is to be continued by Miss Corbetta and Miss Conde.